So when you slow down and actually become conscious of what you're thinking, one of the things that you're going to become curious about is, why do I do what I do? When you start to look at how your life is going, how your business is going, and you just observe what are the results you're getting, your outer world is a very clear and defined mirror of what's going on in your inner world.
Bob Regnerus he's someone who likes to help people remember who they are and guide them to become who they want to become. Coach is the title he's proudly carried from the basketball court to the transformative work that he does in people's lives. Bob's mission goes beyond coaching. It's about forging deep connections and guiding individuals to uncover their authentic selves, helping them to articulate their unique stories and visions for the world. He is on a relentless mission to not only discover who I am, but he's also constantly asking himself, who do I want to be? Guiding people as they ask these two very powerful questions is one of the joys of his life. He helps unfulfilled entrepreneurs and business owners pursue their bigger calling, embrace their true potential, and take bold steps towards their destiny so they can live a life fulfilled with purpose, passion, and unbridled satisfaction and joy. Bob, welcome. It's so wonderful to have you here. I'm very, very excited about our chat. Bob, I love everything that you've written about yourself there because it completely chimes in with what I believe and with the whole heart of this podcast. And as you know, we talk to independent financial advisors and any other business owners who like to listen in about the challenges that they face in not only creating a more profitable business, but a more fulfilling business, because you can make a lot more money and still be very miserable. We want to talk about how you can have a lovely work-life balance while taking great care of yourself and your family. And a lot of people think, well, you can't have it all. You have to make some sacrifice along the way. But I'd like to explore with you today how we can aim to have it all and feel good about it. So, Job, first of all, I'd love to find out more about you and your journey that's brought you to the point that you're at now. So could you share some of that with us?
Would love to. I have been an entrepreneur for 25 plus years. You can't tell because I'm so youthful in my appearance. Um, I found out early in my career that I was virtually unemployable from the standpoint of not really wanting to follow the rules of employment, like 2-week vacations and things like that. So I ventured out on my own about 3 or 4 years after I came out of college, and I have been in the marketing space for those years. And my background is helping people take their stories and put them in front of their potential customers. I've become an expert in Facebook ads and video and storytelling. I've written 5 books. I've especially helped people that sell big ticket or expensive, complex products. That became my specialty. But ultimately, the best part of my work with clients, Nina, has been connecting with them and talking about some of the bigger purposes about why they're in business. And I think these are the things that really matter. And as I pursue my coaching career off of the court, and starting to go deeper into that business, that is really what kind of charges me, is the fact that I enjoy discovering who I am and who I want to be. And I know that this is a pursuit that many others are also pursuing, especially as we've come out of the pandemic. And people are just kind of looking at their lives and their careers going, is this really what I want to do? And really deciding about they get to control the parameters. They get to have a say in the matter. And I think with independent financial advisors, I enjoy working with my independent financial advisor. The idea here is that you have freedom, and I think financial advisors that aren't part of a particular brand or organization do have some freedom, and it is all about working with the client. So I really relate to all professional service providers that go out and want to serve people from the most authentic place that they can be.
Wonderful. So I'd like to deep dive into this.
Yeah.
How do we start going about finding ourselves and who we are? Because often we think, well, I'm Nina Cook. Well, what are you beyond that? Well, I'm this, I'm my body, but no, beyond that. So how do we get past this exterior self?
Yeah. I don't know how spiritual we want to get, but I think there's a basic understanding that there's more to us than our body. I think if we've really gotten in touch with ourselves, we realize how amazing we are. And I'm not going down any particular religious path here. I think what we all understand is that the world and our bodies are bigger than who we are. And when we really get quiet and we really kind of just sit with ourselves, we feel we feel that there's something bigger. And so those that are on a path I would call it discovery, have that spark within them, and I think it drives them and it compels them to really just dive deep in who they are. And it doesn't matter really where you take it, because it's going to take it to where you need it to go. But the idea here is that there's something bigger and there's something more vast out there and for yourself. And so for me, I found entrepreneurship and kind of being on my own a great. It's almost like a personal development class. When we're not in a job and we're responsible for our well-being and those of our family, we do have some responsibility, and I think the urge to go within and kind of figure out who we are and where we fit in. And that concept of fit in is really interesting, because I thought life was about fitting in. And I think most of us, like, okay, from the time we're kids, we try to figure out where we fit in. But as I've sat thinking about so many people that are in transition and thinking about how they really want to show up in the world, it's not really about fitting in. It's actually about fitting around, and giving yourself permission to really just say, hey, this is who I am, and creating a world around you instead of trying to find a place to plug yourself into.
Yeah, absolutely. I really resonate with so much of what you're saying. Let's go back to the basics. What's the benefit in our lives of diving deeper within ourselves to figure out who we are?
Well, I like to talk about a concept of alignment, and alignment is really it's taking who you are at your core and then fitting that in, or fitting around, as we talked about, where you really sit and where you really shine. The idea here is this: is that for you to understand this and really feel at peace with what you're doing, feel good about what you're doing at a very basic level, is to understand who you are. So the very basic thing that most people could do, and I think a lot of people have done this, is take a strengths finder test, take a personality test, get some insight as to why you do what you do. And it's very interesting if you start to become conscious. Most of our life we spend about 5% of our time thinking. 95% of the time, our subconscious is working for us. It is a machine that's running programs that have been installed that are for our benefit. I mean, none of us really have to think about beating our heart or our kidneys, pumping and clear and filtering toxins, or even breathing. Those are programs that are running. Most people, Nina, are going through their life running on autopilot. They're running programs. So when you slow down and actually become conscious of what you're thinking, one of the things that you're going to become curious about is, why do I do what I do? When you start to look at how your life is going, how your business is going, and you just observe what are the results you're getting, your outer world is a very clear and defined mirror of what's going on in your inner world. And when you have that awareness, that puts you in control, and you actually get to now start thinking about, how do I really want it to be? So if you're evaluating your business results, if you're evaluating your relationships, if you're evaluating your health, and you don't like what you see, or you say, hey, this really doesn't serve me anymore, It's not about changing the actions on the outside. It's first about changing what's in the inside. And so understanding how the equipment works, because none of us were given a user manual when we landed here. It's figuring out how the equipment works, how it functions, becoming really clear about that, and then making conscious decisions to do things that are different than what you've been doing so that you get different results.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. So for anyone who's listening is thinking, oh, that all sounds like a lot of work, I don't want to be introspective. It's I don't really like to go there. And they think, okay, really all I need, is a really good marketing machine to get me more leads and, more profits and all of that. Why do you believe that that mindset is the core piece, not just for business, but for life, and to look at that piece? And it's not fixing it because, we don't need to be fixed. We're not broken, but just looking at how you can use it in a more positive way in your life to get you to your goals.
Well, here's an analogy. I mean, we could run a car without checking the oil, and we could redline that thing, and we could certainly get to our destination faster, right? We could put the pedal down, and we could grind that thing, and we could push off to our destination. But at some point, that car is going to break down. We think that the answer to all our problems is just let's just make more money. But at the end, when you do have that pile of money, you are still with the same person that that went through that process. If you look around and you say, okay, I've got a pile of money, but your marriage doesn't seem good to you, your children don't connect with you, your weight is you're 50 pounds overweight and you're pre-diabetic. You could look at yourself and go, great, I got a bunch of money. However, my life, my fulfillment still feels like it's in the toilet. And so this is about understanding that you're a fine-tuned machine. And is it harder work to go within and figure out why something is occurring in your life? Or is it harder to figure out how to go generate more leads for your business? I think they're both hard things to accomplish. And maybe there's more people talking about, and maybe it's easier to go over here and kind of neglect you and go work on your business. But at some point, you're going to have to face yourself. And the way you show up in life is going to come to fruition. All right. The extent to which you ignore yourself, which you ignore your family, you ignore your loved ones, your friends, you are going to be deficient, and you are going to be left with a pile of money, but the same person and the same problems that occurred while you were focusing on generating a bunch of income.
Yeah. I think of it as a ripple effect when you do the self work and your personal and professional growth, which inevitably happens as you do the self work, and logically, you get different results. That has a ripple effect into other areas of your life. And often people just think, well, I can just make improvements in my work. But actually, you can make improvements in every area of your life by focusing on that central piece, which is you. And it all ripples out into different directions, into relationships, health, finance, and everything else. So doing that one piece of work, it has astounding results which keep compounding and compounding as you keep doing that work. If you stop doing it, then you may start going backwards, and it's continuing to do it. So a lot of people just think, well, I just do it for a little while and then I'm okay. It's not a side hustle. It's a lifestyle. It's a daily mindset practice.
It is, and it's a daily decision. It's like the decision of when you wake up: are you going to get on the treadmill, or are you going to do your meditation, or whatever that practice is, right? You have to make that decision, just like you make the decision to not do it. I mean, it's a choice, right? We are divine beings, and we can make choices. It's interesting, Nina, as you were talking about that. First of all, I love people from the UK. We were just there in February. We spent 2 weeks. Like, I have so many connections in the UK over the years. My mentor from the UK, he's in Kent, and he has this saying develop the owner, not the business. And that really
Wonderful.
resonates with me when you work on yourself. Again, your inner world, your outer world is a very clear reflection of your inner world. So if you are good in here, everything that you produce is going to be that much better. So think about doing the work in here and that being the best way to improve your business. Another good friend, she is from Ireland, says that people don't have business problems. People with businesses have problems. And I just love the way that redirects, and that we can do so much more, not just in our business, but in all parts of our life by working on ourselves, improving our thinking, being just conscious about how we show up, not just in our business, but in our personal lives. Everything ripples out. Just like you said, it becomes better and better and better.
Yes, you've so well said. Now let's talk about decision making. Every day we're making decisions, not just in our business, but we decide what we're going to have for breakfast. How we're going to show up in our relationships, our team. Everything is a decision, and we're automatically making decisions all day long. We go into the bathroom, we don't think, today I'm going to brush my teeth. We just pick up our toothbrush and we start. So we're on autopilot a lot, as you said. We're reacting a lot of the time through old
Oh,
programs.
yeah.
And so we can be quite poor decision makers in many ways. And we will avoid taking risks which take us out of our comfort zone. It's just human nature to a certain extent. So, how do we become better decision makers as a result of these questions we can ask ourselves?
I like to think of it this way, Nina. You are not really going to want to change anything until you become agitated, frustrated, or unsatisfied with a particular result. So if you end up getting a tooth infection and you haven't been to the dentist, and you go in and she asks you, "Have you been brushing your teeth, Nina?" and you say no, that is an opportunity for you to make a different choice. The dentist will say to you, "Nina, you need to brush your teeth and you need to floss every day. If you do not do that, this is the result you're going to get." So if you like having an infected tooth and you like that pain, then by all means continue to ignore the fact that you that you don't pick up your toothbrush. So quite often we don't make changes until we are consciously aware that the results of our decisions are no longer satisfactory to us. So if you are looking at, let's just talk about business. If you look at your business, if you look at your bottom line and you take a look at that and you go, "I am not satisfied with where I am at in my business right now." You need to then roll back and decide, okay, what actions am I taking that are causing these results? And one step further, what is my thinking in regards to those actions? So it's very similar to getting a tooth infection. It's the same process you're going to analyze if you're analyzing your business results. You are making choices. Life doesn't happen to you. Life happens for you. Again, outer life is a reflection of your inner self. So if you are getting a result in your business and you are not satisfied with it, it is because you are taking actions that are leading to that result. But what you really need to think about is, what is my thinking in regards to the actions I'm taking? It's the cause behind the effects. What we love to do is we decide, oh, okay, our business is not doing what it should be doing. I need to jump to and run more Facebook ads, or I need to go this. We immediately go to a tactile decision and believe that it must be something wrong with our tactics. What I like to do with clients is say, okay, maybe that's the right answer, but let's think about, what is the thinking? What are we thinking, and what is going on in terms of your consciousness in regards to why you are doing what you're doing? Maybe it's a problem about what you think about who your real client is, or their avatar, or maybe your messaging is off. Maybe you're like, we need to take a step further back and not just try to throw a tool at it. because that's what everybody tries to sell you, right? If you look in your Facebook feed or whatever, everyone's trying to force a tool or a blueprint on you. And it's really easy because it satisfies kind of this animal instinct we have, which is, oh, it must be that, I'm doing this particular thing wrong. And it's why so many professionals, Nina, jump from agency to agency and tool to tool and whatever the amazing du jour, advertising top, tool du jour is out there, right? So many people are diving into AI and thinking, okay, this is finally giving me the answer. I don't care how smart AI gets. If your thinking is invalid or it doesn't serve you, it doesn't matter what tool you pick, you are going to continue to get the same results.
Yeah, it comes down to the quality of the thinking of the user.
Yeah.
If the quality of the thinking is high, then they're going to have success with the tool. And if it's low, and it comes down to expectations. If you don't expect to do very well in life, if you expect just to have so much success or so much happiness, then that is what you'll get because you set the bar in your mind. So it's raising that bar of expectation. I'd love to know for you, in terms of your own personal journey with mindset, when did it become clear to you that, oh, the mindset piece is really important?
I had a very, very bad, um, tragic crash in 2009. This is when the economy crashed here in the United States. We had
and around the world.
Yes, it was the ripple effect from the US, but we started it.
Thank you for that.
And right. It was going to happen somewhere, but things usually start in the US. But I was really running on autopilot, and I wasn't aware that my marketing agency had 100% of our clients were information marketers, and most of those information marketers were in the real estate space. Well, when the real estate bubble burst, I lost all of my clients inside of 60 days.
Wow.
I went from 6 figures in revenue per month. I had a $1.3 million agency at that point. I lost all my clients within 60 days, and I had to
Wow.
lay off my entire staff, contractors. When when you're thinking that everything is going to be gravy for the rest of your life, and you're unaware of where your risks are. I wasn't thinking. I was just reacting, and I didn't think critically about my business, and I lost it. And so there was a financial hit, but mostly it was a deep, deep personal mental anguish. I had anxiety attacks. I went into a depression state, and it was at that point that I was stripped down to the bare bones, and I started to face myself. And I had a spiritual awakening, and I realized I was running things on autopilot. I was following the blueprints of others. I was modeling other people's behavior, and it started a journey for me. And it took me about 3 years just to recover from that very low point. It was a knock, and my health suffered, and a lot of things. And I had to come to grips with the fact that this didn't happen to me. This happened because, and it happened for me. And so what parts did I play in that, and how am I going to do things differently? So it's led me to a very deep personal and spiritual awakening. And even, even a month ago, I learn things every day. We are we are infinitely interesting beings. and life beyond is so complex and amazing, we can never get to the bottom of it. So I am fascinated, like I said, with who I am. I'm fascinated helping people discover who they are. And what I'm really excited about is what you talked about, which is decision making, choice. So many people believe that they're just victims and things happen to them. And what I'm excited to say is you get to choose. You really do. And maybe it doesn't seem like that, but okay, let's start with what that thinking needs to be. But you do have choice. You do have the ability to fit your business, fit your life around who you are and live from that and not follow somebody else's blueprint or try to copy who they are. So it's unfortunately a lot of this comes from a very dark place, and most people that I talk to, Nina, do have a point where they had they had the moment like me where they're just flat on the bed and couldn't get out of bed for several days. And unfortunately, that's what it takes to awake a lot of us up.
Yeah, that's quite a journey. And again, you had a choice how you looked at that situation to say, okay, that's it, or okay, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a better
Yeah.
way. As you said, there's always a choice, however dark it seems. For
Yeah.
anyone thinking this is interesting, I could start delving into myself a little bit. What would be a good starting point for them? What would be the first question or two they could ask themselves just to get the creative juices flowing a little bit? Because, especially if they're not used to doing this type of work.
I had a really interesting call with a potential coaching client yesterday. And one of the things that he expressed was he wanted to understand his zone of genius. And he was actually reluctant to use the word genius. So he came up with a different term, his unique talent, which he was more interested in. But he's like, I don't know what my unique talent is. But guess what? In about 10 minutes of me asking him a couple questions, he had a pretty clear idea of what his talent was. But he had never expressed it or written it out on paper. So one of the things that I think is really critical for you is to find out what your unique talents are. And it's a journaling exercise where you sit down and you just think about what are the things that I do that come very easy to me that others might look at and go, wow, that's amazing. Think about times where you are operating and time stands still, where you aren't watching the clock when you're doing it, when you feel the most comfortable in your shoes. And it doesn't just have to be within the business world. It could be in all aspects of your life. But when are you feeling most like you? That's one great way. It's a simple way to do it. One of the favorite things, though, that I would encourage anybody to do is take a really sincere and accurate estimate about some aspect of you. I love the Enneagram. For me, it's probably the most accurate test I've taken. But you can do a Myers-Briggs test. You could do Strengths Finder. Take several of these because what's interesting is what keeps showing up in each of these tests. But just knowing kind of what your personality type is and really getting a analytical and hard data, facts about kind of what you're good at, that gives you an idea of just not just like how you show up in your business, but what you should be working on in your business, what you should not be working on in your business, what's left to others. It starts to give you an idea of where you're going to shine and where you're going to stumble. That's to me, it's the most it's the least intrusive and probably the easiest thing you could do is journal and start taking some assessments about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I really, really love that. So, in terms of setbacks, because we all have setbacks at some point
Yeah,
in our lives,
yeah.
how do you deal with setbacks? How do you get over them?
Well, first of all, acknowledging that they exist, and I have setbacks all the time. I have disappointments all the time. First of all, just knowing they're going to happen. When you look at your heartbeat, it goes up and down, right? It goes up and down. Your heartbeat doesn't go in a straight line. Life is meant to flow. Seasons are meant to flow, unless you live in Southern California where they have one season. Most places in the world, you've got four seasons, right? You have night and day. There is a flow. So just acknowledging the fact they're going to happen, all right, is one step. The second thing, and this is more difficult, but look for the positive aspect of that. And a friend of mine, a friend of mine told me a story the other day, Nina. It was really just a great observation of this. He was towing a boat up in Wisconsin, and he got a flat tire, not just a flat tire, like a blowout, like the tire blew out and down on the rim. And, he pulls off to the side of the road. And of course, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm only 10 miles away from where I need to be. He ended up having to drop the trailer there. But he did this. And he and I had talked about this. He consciously thought, all right, what's good about this? Well, what you didn't know, and what I'll tell you now, is that he's been meaning to get rid of that trailer and actually meaning to get rid of that boat. And so he unhooked, kept the boat there. He went into town, went into a gas station, had a conversation with the guy, and the guy actually says, "You know what? There's somebody that lives down the road that is looking for a trailer, and he's actually looking for a boat. Would you mind if I got in contact with him?" My friend says, "Okay," gets in contact with him. The guy ends up picking up the trailer, picking up the boat, fixing the tire, buys the boat and trailer off him. And now my friend is done with this. And he noted after like pulling over and going, damn tire, right? Like this damn trailer. But then he's like, nope, like I'm going to look for something positive this. I've been looking to get rid of this. Maybe this is the opportunity. And he just changed his mindset, and he drove down the street and got an answer. Now, it's not going to happen that way all the time, but it's funny that happened shortly after a conversation he and I had about looking for the positive in that. So we are constantly trying to, I call it changing the polarity. There's a lot of things that are going to happen to us that we're going to judge as negative. But looking at that situation and trying to change the polarity from negative to positive has an amazing effect on your life. And you don't know in the moment what good is going to come from a negative situation, something that we judge negative. When you look for the positive, it's amazing when positive things show up. Because again, your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. And so we can choose to evaluate things around us as negative. And guess what we're going to manifest in our life? More negative. So there are going to be things that challenge us. There are going to be things that don't go our way. To the best of our ability, if we look at that and try to pull the positive out of that, it is going to have a transformational effect on your life, your attitude, and your happiness.
Yeah, that's such a great story. It goes to show that everything's always unfolding in a perfect way. And that when we change our way of thinking, we change the energy, and that brings the opportunities to us, because suddenly we start looking for those opportunities. So, and there's so many valuable lessons, rather than focusing on what doesn't work, you think, okay, what does work for me?
Yeah.
These are simple instructions, but they're very challenging to remember to do, especially in the heat of the moment. Your friend did so well to remember what you told him. And that then talking of the greatest lessons, what is the greatest lesson that life has taught you so far?
In that dark period, Nina, I'll just tell the story. I was out walking one day, and I was just really lamenting out loud. I was just kind of just like, this is no fair. I'm worthless. Just kind of, I heard a voice, and the voice said, "I don't love you for what you do. I love you for who you are." And in that moment, it stopped me. Again, to me, it sounded audible. It doesn't matter if it's audible or not.
That's amazing. Yeah.
It doesn't even matter where the voice came from.
Yeah.
But the greatest lesson I've learned, and I'm still trying to unpack this 15 years later, is that my inherent value is not what I do for somebody. It's who I am.
Mm.
And so one of the things that I challenge people when I talk from stage is this idea of you are valued not for what you do, because what you do is going to change. And in fact, you might get to the point where you can't do your thing anymore. But what isn't going to change is you. So your value is in who you are, and who you are for your spouse, who you are for your kids, who you are for your business. That is the true value. It is not. It is not what you do. What you do is very temporary, and it's very material. Certainly important, but it's not the core of why you are important and why you exist. Who you are matters more than what you do, and that's the greatest lesson that I've learned, and I'm still learning.
Yeah, that's an unending lesson. What a wonderful lesson. Thank you so much. So, Bob, how can our listeners find out more about the incredible work that you do?
I would love for people to visit my website, bobregnerus.com, Regnerus, all together. I've got a lot of resources on there. I gave a talk recently at an AI summit. It was a technology conference, and I chose to talk about identity and these things that you and I chatted with. Resonated deeply with people. AI has been shaking a lot of people's beliefs and their core. And I believe it was a good thing to bring to that audience on that day. So that I have a talk there. I have several kind of assessments. I have it's called a life fulfillment audit tool. It's an interesting test that you could take to figure out what areas of my life am I not fulfilled or not happy with. But mostly what I love to do, Nina, is I love to have deep conversations about people. So if somebody is kind of sitting with a problem, or they're stuck in something, or they think they're searching for something bigger, I'll have a coaching conversation with them. But that's what I do is I coach people. So if somebody's stuck in a situation, or they want to talk through a scenario that you're in, I have a facility there for them to have a conversation with me, and I would look forward to talking with them.
Wonderful. I would recommend everyone head over to Bob's website and check out the incredible work he's doing, because it's so important to your success and your happiness. And I want to apologize for killing your surname when I announced it earlier on. Apologies for that. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wisdom and your insights. For everyone who's been watching, thank you for joining us. I hope you got a ton of value.